He vanished, then was found dead in his own RV, Ontario's strangest unsolved case. In January 1999, an 80-year-old man walked out of his home in Hamilton, Ontario, and never came back. 10 days later, his body was found more than an hour away, locked inside his own camper van, parked on a quiet street in Toronto. Within 24 hours of that discovery, police received a fax. It claimed to be from one of 3 people responsible for his death. The result, the sender said, of a kidnapping that had gone wrong. More than 25 years later, no one has ever been charged. The case remains open, and very few people outside Hamilton have ever heard of it. His name was Clyde Frost. Frost was born in 1919. By January of 1999, he was 80 years old, recently remarried, and living a comfortable life in Hamilton with his wife Juliette and her 2 daughters. By every account available, there was no reason for him to disappear. He wasn't in debt. He wasn't estranged from his family. He had no history of wandering off or losing track of time. Hamilton police have been direct about this in the years since. There is no reason for Clyde to have gone missing. On January 23, 1999, Frost was last seen leaving his home. What happened over the following hours and days is something investigators have had to reconstruct largely after the fact, because no one reported him missing right away. And by the time they did, the trail had already gone cold. What investigators eventually pieced together is this. Frost was very likely killed inside his own home, in the basement. His body was then moved into his Road Trek RV, the recreational camper van he owned, which was driven out of Hamilton entirely, more than an hour east into the city of Toronto. There, the vehicle was parked on a side street and abandoned. It sat there, with Frost's body inside, for over a week. On February 2nd, 1999, a parking attendant in Toronto noticed the RV. It had been sitting in the same spot for days, drawing the kind of attention that unmoved vehicles eventually do in a city that relies on turnover. When the attendant looked inside, he found Frost's body. The location itself has always been one of the case's central mysteries. Toronto had no obvious connection to Frost's life. He didn't work there, as far as investigators have ever confirmed publicly. He had no meaningful ties to the city at all. Whoever moved that RV made a deliberate choice to put more than 80 kilometers between the crime and the body, and to do it in a vehicle that would eventually, inevitably, be noticed. Then came the facts. Within 24 hours of the RV being found, before most of the city even knew a body had turned up, Hamilton police received a fax from someone claiming responsibility. According to the sender, Frost's death was not a targeted killing. It was the outcome of a kidnapping attempt that had gone wrong. The message claimed 3 people were involved. Investigators pursued the fax as a lead, trying to trace its origin and verify whether the claims inside it lined up with the physical evidence at the scene. But nothing about the case moved to a clean resolution. No one was ever identified as the sender. No arrests followed. If the fax was genuine, whoever sent it was never found. If it wasn't, someone had gone out of their way, in the middle of an active homicide investigation, to insert a false confession into the case, for reasons that have never been explained either. Hamilton police have said publicly and repeatedly, in the years since, that they believe someone who knew Clyde Frost is responsible for his death. Not a stranger, not a random act. Someone inside his circle, or close enough to it to have access to his home, his routine, and his vehicle. That belief has never translated into an arrest. For years, the case sat where most cold cases eventually land: acknowledged, investigated, occasionally revisited, but fundamentally unsolved. Hamilton police continue to list it among the city's open homicides, alongside a standing $10,000 reward for information that leads to a conviction. Every so often, in step with anniversaries or renewed public appeals, the case resurfaces briefly in local coverage before fading again. Then, in 2014, it found a new audience entirely. The case became the subject of an episode of To Catch a Killer, a documentary series built around a specific and unusual premise. A criminology professor in Ontario, along with a team of students, would reopen real, unsolved cold cases and attempt to apply modern investigative techniques the original detectives may not have had access to. Frost's case, with its abandoned RV, its cross-city relocation, and its anonymous facts, was, by the standards of the format, close to perfect material. Strange enough to hold attention, documented enough to actually investigate. Whether that renewed examination produced anything Hamilton police haven't already made public is difficult to say. The case remains, as of today, officially open. No suspect has ever been named. No one has ever been charged. What's left is a set of facts that don't fully resolve into an explanation. A man with no reason to vanish, gone from his own home. A body moved with obvious deliberation over an hour away into a vehicle that would eventually be found simply because it stayed too long in one place. And a fax sent almost immediately, almost too immediately, claiming an explanation that was never verified and never led anywhere. Somebody knew enough to move that RV to Toronto. Somebody knew enough, within a day of its discovery, to send a message about what had happened inside it. And in more than 25 years, that knowledge has never surfaced anywhere police could use it. Clyde Frost's case remains open with the Hamilton Police Service Homicide Unit. Anyone with information is asked to come forward. The reward for information leading to an arrest currently stands at $10,000. For now, the file stays open. The reward stays unclaimed. And whoever wrote that fax in February of 1999 has never been identified.